Hey everybody, Ranger William here from the Overmountain Victory National Historic Trail. We're bringing to you another series from the Soka Parks, the Southern Campaign of the American Revolution Parks Group, and this time we're answering the question, who was the most significant Patriot commander in the backcountry? This is going to be part of a series we're doing called Clash of the Commanders, where each one of our four parks, each ranger will make a case for a different officer, and then you, the viewer, the virtual visitor, you decide who you agree with the most. Now, to answer this question, the most significant Patriot commander in the Southern backcountry, I had to go with my man Isaac Shelby. So Isaac Shelby, a little bit of background about him. He's born in 1750 in Hagerstown, Maryland. His family are Welsh immigrants, and 20 years later, at the age of 20, in about 1770, they're going to immigrate from Maryland down to what's now the area around Bristol, Tennessee. At the time, then, it was considered far western Virginia, but it's later going to go into the hands of North Carolina once that line is surveyed between the two colonies and the two states. Now, his early experiences on the frontier really helped make him a born leader. He's going to serve as a lieutenant in Lord Dunmore's War in 1774. This is going to be just before the Revolution, a Virginia expedition against the Shawnee Indians. He's going to serve as a surveyor on the edges of Tennessee and Kentucky, there on the frontiers. He's going to be appointed a captain in the Virginia militia in 1776, once the Revolutionary War is in full swing. Now, he's quickly going to be promoted. He's going to go from being a captain in the militia, and Patrick Henry is going to make him the quartermaster for Virginia. And later he's going to serve the same as a quartermaster in the Continental Army for the western garrisons, the western frontier. So any western outpost, fort, any expedition, you're going to see Isaac Shelby stepping up to make sure these guys get supplied, clothed, and armed. In fact, in 1777, Shelby personally pays for John Severe's expedition against the Chickamauga Cherokee down in northern Georgia. Now, the reason I think he's the most significant is not for these frontier experiences, but after the fall of Charleston, after May 12th of 1780, when the British are pretty much steamrolling through South Carolina, Isaac Shelby comes back from the edge of Kentucky, comes back from the frontier, he raises a body of men, and he comes down into South Carolina. He's going to provide a boost of not only military power, but morale support at a crucial time in the partisan war in the summer of 1780. The men under Isaac Shelby, they're going to join up with the men under Charles McDowell, James Williams, Elijah Clark, and cause all kinds of havoc for the British in western South Carolina. One of the more notable ones is on July 26, 1780. Isaac Shelby and about 600 men, they surround a loyalist stockade fort, a fortified position known as Fort Thickety. Now, inside Fort Thickety is Captain Patrick Moore, about 94, 95 loyalist soldiers, and a lot of weapons and ammunition. And what Shelby does is he at first calls on Moore to surrender the fort. Moore comes out, talks with him, and denies. He turns Shelby away, says he's going to defend his post. And then Shelby advances his 600 men out of the wood line, showing his force surrounding Fort Thickety, and Moore then surrenders. 95 men, the fort, and 250 loaded muskets ready to go are now fallen into Patriot hands, Isaac Shelby's hands, without firing a single shot. Now, some other skirmishes that Shelby is going to have with Ferguson's forces and the Loyalist militia in South Carolina include places like Cedar Springs, Wofford's Iron Works, the Peach Orchard, all these kind of running militia clashes. Isaac Shelby is going to feature prominently. Now, another bigger action where Shelby makes a difference is the Battle of Musgrove's Mill in August 19th of 1780. When this force rides down and attacks a loyalist mill, a loyalist guarded river crossing, you're going to see Isaac Shelby being one of the main, if not the main commander of the Patriot forces here. To keep going through the Southern campaign, when Patrick Ferguson decides he needs to threaten the Overmountain leaders and get them to back away from the fight, he releases a prisoner to carry this message to the Western leaders. This prisoner, Samuel Phillips, happens to be a cousin of Isaac Shelby. So Shelby is the first one to receive the message. He's the first one to identify Patrick Ferguson as kind of the main threat to the Overmountain settlements. He's the one who begins coordinating John Sevier, William Campbell, Charles McDowell, and he brings all these forces together to begin the Overmountain Victory March, to begin the pursuit of Patrick Ferguson, leading to the Battle of Kings Mountain. Now, of course, he serves with great distinction at Kings Mountain as well, one of the main Patriot leaders there. It's recorded that as they were closing in on Ferguson's camp, the men were discouraged, they were tired, they were soaking wet. They thought about stopping and taking a break, but when Shelby hears the discussion of a possible halt, he says that he will ride into Cornwallis's lines if he has to catch Ferguson. His determination keeps them pushing on, and they catch Patrick Ferguson's camp that afternoon. After this campaign, later on in the rest of the war, you're going to see him kind of step out of the limelight for a little bit on the front lines with the British. He's going to go serve as a peace commissioner with the Chickamauga Cherokee, led by Dragon Canoe there in northern Georgia. Most of 1781, he's going to spend meeting with them and discussing a attempted peace treaty. Later at the end of the war, 1782, John Sevier and Isaac Shelby, they gather some frontiersmen and they come back into South Carolina at the request of General Nathaniel Greene, and they help defeat the British even more. Notably, Shelby's guys are detached to serve with some of Francis Marion's men, and they attack a place called Fairlawn Plantation, also known as Colleton's Plantation. This has been fortified by the British. It has a little stockade fort, but also one of the plantation buildings is serving as a field hospital. Now, in Shelby and some of Marion's men, when they get there to the fort, the hospital will not surrender. There's 150 wounded soldiers in there, but they're ready to go down fighting if they have to, until Shelby threatens them that with his frontiersmen, who these Brits have heard about, these Overmountain yelling boys, he says that they will tomahawk all inside if they are forced to fight. And those soldiers quickly surrender. The hospital is captured, 150 wounded British soldiers, and 300 stands of arms. So muskets, bayonets, cartridge boxes, crucial supplies and ammunition are now in the Patriots' hands. So my reason for why Shelby's the most significant, he was not involved in the most battles of any commander, or he didn't see the most extensive service as far as how far he traveled, but he did provide a key resource when the partisan war in the southern backcountry needed help the most. His role in assisting and leading against Ferguson's loyalists, this encouraged Patriot resistance at a time when it was floundering. He angered Ferguson and the loyalist leaders, and most importantly as well, his defeats of Ferguson's loyalist troops, especially Fort Thickety, it planted distrust of the loyalists in the minds of the British commanders. When they look at how they're being defeated by Shelby's forces, they think maybe these loyalists aren't really a good fighting force, especially Lord Cornwallis believing that. His plan after the Battle of Musgrove Mill, his plan after they retreated to Gilberttown and scattered back into the mountains, his receipt of Ferguson's threat, these are going to be crucial dominoes in the Kings Mountain campaign that makes that battle possible. So yes, he maybe wasn't everywhere as some other commanders were, but he is definitely one of the most significant in the southern backcountry. So I hope you enjoyed. Watch for the poll that comes out so you can take a vote, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Isaac Shelby.